Former President Jacob Zuma is yet to confirm whether he'll appear before the State Commission of Inquiry. The commission yesterday asked Mr. Zuma to testify from the 15th to the 19th of July. Zuma has been mentioned in statements and testimonies of various witnesses. The commission says its lawyers have been in talks with him or with his lawyers since April this year. It's heard how Zuma allowed his friends, the Gupta family, to influence the appointment of cabinet ministers and how he enabled the looting of state-owned enterprises. The former president is now being given a chance to respond. The commission continues today, but for more on this story, we're joined in the studio by our colleague Mbalenhle Mthethwa. Mbali, thank you once again for coming through. The commission starts at 12 today. Why is that?
I imagine it's probably because of SONA. We saw Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo at the state. Wow, I've been at the state capture for too long. So
in fact, that's the same thing I wondered when I heard that proceedings were continuing today. I'm like, how's he going to get here so quickly?
Yes,
I forget there's such a thing as private charters and the likes.
Yeah, but yes, I think we've basically got all of this extra time because of SONA, and I think they're also going to be sitting, I believe they will be sitting on Saturdays just so we make up for, the lost hours in between, traveling for SONA and so on.
Let's just recap on what happened with SAA and where the movement is now from SAA to SA Express, I think?
Yes. Yeah. So the focus has moved from SAA to SA Express. The first witness was an investigator who was investigating what seemed like a suspicious contract between SA Express and the Northwest Transport Department. And basically, he was basically investigating that they'd been overpaid an amount of 31 million rand, and he basically told the commission that he was approached by a certain individual who is referred to as Sipho, and he claimed to have been mandated by Luthuli House to ask him to stop his investigations into that amount of money that was paid, siphoned out of the department, and he offered him a bribe of 3 million rand. So that's what the commission heard on the first day, which was on Wednesday, the first time that the focus moved from SAA to SA Express. And then yesterday we had another witness, I think, that got overtaken by the news that former President Jacob Zuma is expected to appear or has been requested to appear before the commission. And he basically compared a contract that he'd overseen during his tenure at SA Express, where he worked as the general manager for commercial, and they had an agreement with the Dubai Trade Port on 2 new routes, one to Lusaka and the other to Harare in Zimbabwe. Yeah. And he was just looking at the subsidies and so on, and he was explaining to the commission that it usually takes a year or two for a new route to turn profitability, and you have those subsidies in place to assist while you're trying to
prop up the costs.
Prop up the costs, and obviously while you're trying to regain the money that you've spent on that route before it turns profitable. But he compared it with another deal with the Northwest Department, which relates to 2 routes, the one from Pilansberg and the other one with Mafikeng, and these were basically new destinations.
We remember we covered it extensively when the former Premier Mahoma Pelu launched those routes.
Yes.
Saying that he's trying to revive Mahikeng Airport.
Yes. So he's basically compared those 2 contracts because he oversaw the other one, and straight after having signed the MOU and MOI, Memorandum of Understanding, at the time, he left. And there was another one that was signed, and he's just basically compared the tariffs and the subsidies that were paid there, and he's saying they were rather excessive. And it's almost as though he's just setting the scene for what we're going to hear a little bit later on.
In terms of detail.
Yes, in terms of details, and in terms of, this possibly being a money laundering scheme to siphon money out of these departments and so on. So we cannot say that for certain at this stage, because we haven't heard evidence relating to that. However, that is the kind of picture that is being painted at the moment. We know that every witness basically puts one piece of the puzzle, and we eventually put them together after we've seen a number of witnesses appearing before this commission.
That game of connecting the dots.
Yes.
So what is the narrative about the former president? Is he coming? Isn't he coming?
So he's been given an opportunity to come. At this stage, you get the sense from the statement that the commission sent out yesterday, you get the sense that the former president has requested to be furnished with the questions beforehand, and the commission has basically responded to say in the statement that, you know, he's not obligated and he's not obliged to receive questions beforehand. However, they have set aside the 5 days for him to appear before the commission. And I know the question on everyone's mind is, will he appear before the commission, or will he be a no-show? And at this stage, we hear the commission saying that they're adamant that they will take, you know, the necessary actions if, you know, he is a no-show and does not appear or honor the days that he has been given to appear before the commission. Now, we know that this will not be the only time that he's going to appear before the commission. At this stage, he's just going to be responding to allegations that have been made, you know, by former MP Fekimento, as well as, you know,
Temba
Masego, as well as Pravin Gordhan, the former finance minister, and so on. So he's just going to be responding to those. He is expected to come back at a later stage later this year to respond to other allegations that have come up during the course of this commission.
What will happen today?
Today it is again the SA Express leg, and we are going to be hearing more evidence relating to these MOUs that were signed between the Northwest Department of Transport and SA Express. So we're just going to be hearing more details relating to that transaction and that agreement and those routes, and, you know, anything, if there was anything untoward, and if there is indeed money that was siphoned, and if, you know, more evidence as to whether briberies were indeed paid to, you know, stop or prevent a certain investigation from going forward.
Do we have any sense, just on a light-hearted note, just how much documentation the Commission has gathered so far?
Well, you know what, on a lighter note, I see lawyers walking in with
rims and rims.
Yes, with files that are almost my height. And I'm a very short person, and I look at those files when they're rolling them in, and I think, oh God, that those files actually are those are a lot of files, and that's a lot of paper to go through. But you get the sense that, you know, a lot of reading goes into preparing a witness, and, you know, preparations for a day or a session with a particular witness. So I think I have a newfound respect for lawyers, given the amount of paperwork they have to read through in order to make their case.
For them. They're getting paid enough.
You know, yes.
So you're going through this afternoon?
Yes,
you'll be covering the story on our follow-up shows on the SABC.
Yes, definitely. I'll be doing that.
Okay. Is there a sitting tomorrow?
Yes, there is. There will be. I mean, this is to make up for, you know, the last time because of SONA. I think I mentioned that a bit earlier.
Yeah.
That we, you know, I think the judge doesn't want to, you know, lose any time. He really just wants to get to.
Neither do we.
Yes, get to the bottom of this as soon as possible.
Mbalenhle, thank you so much for the update, and we will be looking out for your updates throughout the day from Parktown.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mthethwa is our colleague who's covering the State Capture Commission in Parktown.